Well, good morning and welcome to Tuesdays with the Pilgrim. Today we continue our journey with Christiana, Mercy, the four boys, their spouses, and all the other characters they picked up along the way. Greatheart, of course, who's leading them. And we continue our journey as we remember Turnaway. Chapter 34, Part 1. After they had left the shepherds, they soon came to the place where Christian had met a man named Turnaway, who lived in the town of Apostasy. Greatheart said, "This is the place where Christian met the one called Turnaway, whose turn back exposed the nature of his rebellion. Let me say concerning this man that he refused to listen to any counsel, and once he was falling, no one could persuade him to stop. When he came to the place of the cross and the grave, he met someone who encouraged him to take a look. But he ground his teeth together and stamped his feet, and said he had resolved to go back to his own town. Before he got to the gate, he ran into an evangelist, who offered to lay hands on him that he might turn him back into the way. But Turnaway resisted him and showed great contempt for him. After that he escaped from Evangelist's hand and climbed over the wall." Chapter 34, Part 2. Valiant-For-Truth and his conflict. Then they went on, and just at the place where Little Faith had formerly been robbed, they met a man standing with his sword drawn and his face all bloody. "Who are you?" said Greatheart. "My name is Valiant-For-Truth," the man replied. "I am a pilgrim, and am going to the celestial city. As I was on the way, suddenly 3 men came and surrounded me. They gave me 3 alternatives. First, I could become one of them. Second, I could go back where I came from. Or third, I could die on the spot. In answer to the first, I told them that I had been a man of integrity for a long time, and so they could not expect me to join the ranks of thieves. Then they demanded what I would say to the second alternative. So I told them that if the place I had come from had been advantageous to stay in, I would not have left at all. But finding it altogether unsuitable, and very unprofitable for me as well, I abandoned it to come on this way. Finally they asked me for my response to the third alternative. I told them that my life had been paid for at great cost, and that therefore it was of much too great a value to warrant lightly giving it away to them. Then I said that besides this, they had no right to set me choices, and that they would imperil their lives if they chose to interfere further. Then these 3, namely Wildhead, Disregard, and Meddlesome, drew their swords, and I also drew mine. And we fought, 1 against 3, for more than 3 hours. As you can see, they left me with some wounds, and they have taken away some of my belongings. They have just left. I suppose they heard you coming and decided to take off." "Well, you were fighting against great odds, 1 against 3, said Greatheart. "This is true," said Valiant-For-Faith, "but it makes no difference. Whether few or many means nothing to one who has the truth on his side. Though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war break out against me, even then I will be confident. Besides, I've read in some records how one man fought an army, and how many Samson killed with the jawbone of an ass." "Why didn't you cry out so that others might come to your rescue?" asked Greatheart. "I cried out to my king. I knew he would hear me and provide for me aid that eyes cannot see, and that was enough for me." "You have behaved yourself in a most worthy manner," said Greatheart. "Let me see your sword." So he showed it to him. When he had taken it in his hand and looked at it for a while, he said, "Ha! This is a true Jerusalem blade." "It is. Let a man have one of these blades, and with a strong hand to wield it, and skill to use it, he can win a battle with an angel. He doesn't need to fear its power, as long as he knows how to use it. Its edges will never grow blunt. It penetrates even to dividing soul and spirit, joints and marrow. "But you fought a long time," said Greatheart. "It's a wonder you didn't grow weary." "I fought until my sword froze into my hand. It was then, when the sword and my hand were joined together, as if the sword grew out of my arm, and when the blood coursed through my fingers, that I fought with the greatest courage." "You have done well," said Greatheart. "In your struggle against sin, you have resisted to the point of shedding your blood. Come, join us. Come in and go out with us, for we are your companions." So they took him in and washed his wounds and offered him whatever they had. Then they went on together. Chapter 34, Part 3. Valiant-For-Truth tells how he became a pilgrim. Greatheart was delighted to have Valiant-For-Truth with them, both because he had a great love for those who knew how to fight, and also because there were many feeble and weak ones in their group. So he asked him about many things, first of which was where he had come from. "I am from a dark land," answered Valiant-For-Truth. "I was born there, and my mother and father still live there." "Dark land?" said Greatheart. "Doesn't that lie on the same coast as the City of Destruction?" "Yes, it does. I tell you what caused me to become a pilgrim. A man named Tell Me True came to our area, and he told us about the things that Christian from the City of Destruction had done. He told us how Christian had forsaken his wife and children and had taken upon himself the life of a pilgrim. He also reported how he had killed a serpent that had come out to resist him on his journey, and how he had finally reached his destination. He described the welcome Christian had received at all of his Lord's lodgings, and especially when he came to the gates of the celestial city. He said that Christian was received into the city with trumpet blasts by a band of shining ones, and that all the bells in the city rang for joy at his reception. He spoke of golden garments that Christian wore, and of many other things that I won't take time to tell you about now. In short, that man told the story of Christian and his travels in such a way that my heart burned with intense yearning to go after him as soon as possible. My father and mother couldn't even hold me back, and I left them and have come this far on my way." "You came in at the gate, didn't you?" asked Greatheart. Yes, for the same man told us that all would be for nothing if we didn't begin our journey from the gate." Chapter 34, Part 4. The joy of loved ones reunited in the city. Then Greatheart looked at Christiana and said to her, "Christiana, see how the story of your husband's pilgrimage and what he has received as a result of his quest has spread far and wide." "Why, is this Christian's wife?" asked Valiant-For-Truth. "Yes, she is, and these are her 4 sons." "What, and they are going on a pilgrimage too?" "Yes, they are truly following the same way." "Well, it gladdens my heart," Valiant-For-Truth responded. "How joyful a good man Christian will be when he sees these who have refused to go with him now coming after him to the gates of the celestial city." "Without a doubt it will be a great comfort to him," said Greatheart. "For next to the joy of being there himself will be the joy of being reunited with his wife and children." "But," said Valiant-For-Truth, "now that you have mentioned it, please tell me your opinion about something. Some question whether or not we will know one another when we get there." "Well, do they think that they will know themselves when they get there?" responded Greatheart. "And if so, do they expect to rejoice upon seeing themselves in such bliss? If their answer to these questions is yes, then why wouldn't they expect to know others and rejoice in their well-being also? Since our relatives are so near to us, like an extension of ourselves, even though that state will be dissolved when we get there, should we conclude that we will be more glad to see them there than to see them left out?" Chapter 34, Part 5. Arguments made against Valiant-For-Truth's pilgrimage. "Well, I can understand your position with regard to this," said Valiant-For-Truth. "Do you have any other questions you'd like to ask me about my decision to go on this pilgrimage?" "Yes, I do. Were your father and mother agreeable to your decision to become a pilgrim?" Oh no, they tried everything they could think of to persuade me to stay home." "Why, what could they say against it?" "They said it was an idle life, and that if I didn't have an inclination towards sloth and laziness, I would never be happy as a pilgrim. And what else did they say? They told me that it was a dangerous way. Why, they even said that the way that pilgrims go is the most dangerous way in the world. Did they offer to tell you why they thought it was so dangerous? Yes, in great detail. Name some of them. Well, said Valiant-For-Truth, they began by telling me about the Slough of Despond, where Christian nearly drowned. Then they told me that there were archers at Beelzebub's castle who were always standing ready to shoot those that might knock to gain entrance at the wicket gate. They also spoke of the woods and the dark mountains and the hill difficulty and the lions. They told me about the 3 giants named Grim, Maul, and Slaygood. They said there was a foul fiend that haunted the Valley of Humiliation, and that he nearly had taken Christian's life. They also told me that I would have to go through the Valley of the Shadow of Death, where demons prowl, where light is darkness, and where the way is full of snares, pits, and traps. Then they told me about Giant Despair and Doubting Castle, and about the large number of pilgrims that had come to ruin there. Furthermore, they told me that I would have to travel through the dangerous enchanted ground. And after all this, they said I would come upon a river over which there was no bridge, and that the river would run between me and the celestial country. And was that it? Asked Greatheart. Oh no, they told me also that this way was full of deceivers and other people who were just laying in wait to turn good pilgrims out of the path. Did they describe any of them? Yes, they told me that worldly wise men would be waiting there to deceive me. They also told me about formality and hypocrisy, who are continually walking the road. They said that Bians, Talkative, and Demas might draw near to snatch me away. They also assured me that the flatterer would catch me in his net, or that, like empty-headed ignorance, I might go to the gate and be sent back to the hole in the side of the mountain, and be made to go on the byway to hell. This certainly sounds like enough to cause discouragement, said Greatheart. But did they end with this? No, keep listening. They told me that many people of old had started out on the way, and had gone a great distance on it. These, they said, had wanted to see if they could find some of the glory there that from time to time so many had enthusiastically talked about. They said, however, that large numbers of them had come back again, feeling very foolish for ever having set foot outside their door towards that path. They said that the whole country was relieved at their turning back. Then they named several who had done just that: Obstinate and Pliable, Mistrust and Timorous, Turnaway and Old Atheist, among others. They said that some of them had traveled far to see what they could find, but not one of them had found so much as a feather's weight of benefit from their efforts. Did they try to discourage you with anything else? They weren't finished yet. They told me that someone named Mr. Fearing, who had been a pilgrim, was so gloomy that he never experienced a happy hour. They also said that Mr. Despondency had almost starved as a pilgrim. Oh yes, I almost forgot about Christian, who had been so talked about. They said that after all his undertakings for the celestial crown, he had almost certainly drowned in the Black River and had never taken another step further, suggesting that stories to the contrary were a cover-up of the real truth. Chapter 34, Part 6. He remains undaunted. And none of these things discouraged you? Asked Greatheart. No, they didn't seem to me to be worthy of consideration. How did you come to that conviction? Why, I still believed what Mr. Teltrue had said, and that belief carried me through all the questions and doubts thrown at me by others. Then this was your victory, even your faith. This is true, replied Valiant-For-Truth. I believed, and therefore I stepped out and started on the way, fighting all who would set themselves against me. And by believing I have now come to this place. Who would true valor see, let them now come here. He will always steadfast be, whether stormy clouds or clear. Is no discouragement to make him once relent from his avowed intent to be a pilgrim. Those who will in him surround with their dismal story do but themselves confound. More is his strength and glory. No lion can cause him fright. He with a giant will fight,
and he will have the right to be a pilgrim. No devil nor foul fiend can ever daunt his spirit. He knows he at the end will life inherit. When whims will fly away, he'll fear not what men say. He'll labor night and day to be a pilgrim. And that's the end of chapter 34. Next week we'll carry on with chapter 35, On the Enchanted Ground. Until next week, take care, stay safe, and God bless.